Hey VC, it's Chad. So this is a video of a mega haul that I had in January, and one new thing I wanted to talk about because I haven't really seen anybody else show it yet. Let's get to it. So this is a new release from a metal band called Tribulation. The album is called Down Below. This is a exclusive on indie store exclusive on like silver vinyl, which is really cool. Tribulation are a metal band out of Sweden. Their last two records, Children of the Night and this is their newest one, have been more kind of a departure from their first few straight like death metal records. This one has more like a gothic or black metal and just a darker like psychedelic type tinge to it, and the vocals are still like deathish or black metal, but the music's really great melodic stuff. This probably might be on a lot of top 10s for the year. It's definitely getting a lot of play for me. So check it out if you're into metal. This is Tribulation, Down Below. So the rest of this stuff I got from a pick from a local warehouse, and some of it scattered through is from different record stores for the month of January. So I'm just going to try to blow through it and not ramble on about some of this stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory. So the first thing I have here, I grouped together some soundtracks, and it's the classic Back to the Future with featuring The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. Great movie from the 80s. The soundtrack is awesome. Huey Lewis, and there's some Lindsey Buckingham, Eric Clapton, and a few score tracks from Alan Silvestri. And The Power of Love is a classic, and I don't know, it's just classic. So I have a few copies of this already. I picked this up just maybe to give out as VCLT or something like that, so this needs no introduction. Back to the Future. Here's another great, amazing 80s movie soundtrack that I picked up. I picked it up hoping to upgrade the copy that I already have, and I had what Andrew over there at Tales from the Crate always says is vinylize, and this one I was thinking was a little better than what I had, but bringing it home, it just is pretty thrashed. The cover's okay, but it's the amazing Repo Man soundtrack. This is a great punk compilation with like Iggy Pop, Black Flag, Suicidal Tendencies, and this pretty obscure band, The Plugs, has a few songs on here. The Circle Jerks and Fear, Repo Man, Emilio Estevez. Really great movie. Soundtrack's really amazing punk. I'm sure you've heard of it. If not, check it out. This record's getting kind of pricey. Hasn't been reissued, so if you see it around, definitely pick it up. For the Plug songs, and I think some of those are on their first two records, which I've never seen. I'd like to find them, but it has like Black Flag's TV Party and Suicidal Tendencies Institutionalized, which, you know, they're not unreleased. I don't know if anything on here is actually, maybe the Repo Man by Iggy Pop, but I don't know if anything else on here is unreleased. But it's a really great compilation, great movie. Check it out, Repo Man. So here's another soundtrack, classic blaxploitation. It's Cleopatra Jones by Joe Simon, Millie Jackson. This is on the Warner Brothers label. There's some other great stuff on here by J.J. Johnson. So really nice condition, except for some writing on the record. Really cheap. Had to pick it up. Cleopatra Jones. Here was not really a mega haul actually. This got mixed in from last weekend, but my local record store showed me this soundtrack record that they got because they know I'm a fan of soundtracks, and they thought it was interesting. This is Jackie Chan in Battle Creek Brawl, and this is actually composed and conducted by Lalo Schifrin, and this is actually a Japanese pressing, actually a promo copy. It's missing its OB, but it has its cool Japanese booklet in here. This is on Victor Records, and I haven't seen this movie, but I'm gonna try to hunt it down. Jackie Chan. This looks like, from what I'm reading about it, it's kind of like a blood sport, like a contest of all these different fighters and whatnot. And the soundtrack's really funky jazz from Lalo Schifrin, of course, who does amazing work. So there's some great bass lines and some funky jazz on here. So I think this is a pricey record, but and it's gonna be hard to find it around since it's a Japanese issue. But if you ever see it, pick it up. Lalo Schifrin's great. So this is actually kind of a funny thing here. This was a record I found a few months ago, and I laughed at the cover basically because of the condition of it. The record is like pretty poor. I don't see it around very much, so I picked it up for a few bucks. This is a mono pressing of them. Here Comes the Night, and this is on Parrot Records. But this copy that I picked up, it looks like somebody used the cover as a either a paint palette or like they literally put paint cans on top of it when they were painting. This is a mono copy, and I picked it up because I wanted to listen to it, but the cover is just thrashed. So anyways, that was a few months ago, and then in my mega haul, I found a nice copy. Here Comes the Night. That's the first pressing because they featured a different song on the cover. Forget what was the other one, but Here Comes the Night, an amazing song. Mystic Eyes, of course, them, Van Morrison, you all know. This is also a mono copy on Parrot, so I can send that copy off to somebody for VCLT or use it as a paint can stopper. So, all right, so moving along here, I got some weird, not weird, but stuff I don't see very often. I have this as a US copy. This is the original English copy, and it's the Secret Affair, the Glory Boys, and this is on I Spy Records. So the Secret Affair are actually a mod punk revival band from the late 70s. Think like The Jam and that kind of stuff. They weren't super popular. I don't know how popular they were in the UK. I've seen them on a few different mod comps and stuff. So I really like, there's two songs on here that are really great. Time for Action and Let Your Heart Dance are really cool. So this has got all the original inserts. It's got, original jacket. Really nice for what I paid for it. Secret Affair, Glory Boys. So here's a weird, but things that I don't see very often that that are interesting when I pick them up, and I just buy them, not really knowing too much about it. But obviously, I know Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground are one of my favorite bands. But this compilation on Superstar Records, it turns out, is actually an Italian compilation. There is a pretty cool booklet inside. It's got color photos, a little bit, looks like the history of the band. It's all in Italian, so I can't read it. But I asked a friend of mine from Italy, and he said that these compilations are basically like TV, like they're sold on TV or something. So they're kind of like cheap, like now that's what I call music type things. But this compilation has like Sister Ray, Venus in Furs, European Sun, Pale Blue Eyes, and these are all just original songs taken off of all the Velvet Underground records. So it's an interesting choice of songs. The booklet's cool. Everything about it I like. So it wasn't expensive. So if you ever see any of these comps around, there's a good bit of them. Pick them up. They're really cool. They sound okay. So Lou Reed. I actually watched a documentary on Showtime last month as well about XTC, and I realized I didn't really have anything from them on vinyl, so I've been picking some things up, and I found a copy of their self-titled record. This is on a UK copy on Virgin Records. So This Is Pop is a really great song. I think that's actually what the name of the documentary was. So this is some good like power pop, punk kind of stuff from the late 70s. So XTC. So I found another XTC record. This is maybe their third or fourth record, and it's English Settlement. The cool thing about this is actually it's a UK copy as well, and it's a double LP. It's got a really cool textured cover, almost like wallpaper, and it's embossed, and I was happy to pick this up. So this is English Settlement from XTC. Moving along here, we have another Gentle Giant record. This one is Octopus. This is my third Gentle Giant record from since I've been making videos, since like October or so. This got a really great octopus cover, a gatefold. This is on obviously Vertigo Records, and this has the Spaceship label. So this is Gentle Giant prog rock. It's pretty cool, but nice pressing. So what I'm listening to now, this is actually my second copy, and I'm hoping to send this out to somebody someday because I think it's a really great record, and it's the self-titled Joe Bryant record. I think I've seen maybe Andrew talk about this record before. So Joe Bryant is one of the earliest glam rockers. He was openly gay, very flamboyant. He wanted to do these spectacle shows, and he died before he really did anything. I have both of his records. I think he might have a third one too, but this is actually a white label promo copy on Elektra, and it's a gatefold. So I actually have two copies of this for some reason. So I'm going to send this out to somebody someday. So, Joe Bryant. So I've seen this record around a good bit, and I've talked about Frank Zappa. I'm just kind of getting into some of this stuff. I really like the cartoon cover here. This is the Reuben and the Jets. This is kind of like a jokey kind of doo-wop record. I'm not sure. This one is on Verve. It's got blue Verve record labels. It's in stereo. I'm trying to determine the date. I think it's the either late 60s or early 70s. I don't know. This is on Verve Bazaar. But it's a pretty fun record. Frank Zappa, of course. Here is the Electric Flag. This is their A Long Time Coming record. This is a Dutch pressing that is pretty mint. It's got some cool CBS embassy labels. I think this came out, it's sort of like a reissue from the early 70s or mid 70s, so Electric Flag. Finally found a copy that I've been looking for. I'd still like to find a better, like, original copy, but it's Astral Weeks from Van Morrison. This is the Warner Brother silver labels. It's got a original Super Saver series sticker on it. This was pretty cheap, so I don't think there's an insert in here, and there might be like a little bit of noise on the record, so I'm definitely going to upgrade this at some point, but this is a classic record. And I think there might only be one other Van Morrison record I'm looking for, and I'm pretty complete with his stuff on vinyl, so Van Morrison. So get into a few metal records here. This is a single. I've showed this on my original, maybe my first video. This is a single from Black Roses, Dance on Fire, and it's from the movie, the horror movie Black Roses. And this is a metal band on Metal Blade Records, and it's got Carmine Appice, Alex Massey, Mike Suida from the Bullet Boys, Chuck Wright from House of Lords, and Mark Free. I think there's just one song, and it's on double A side, so it's just a single, but the Black Roses soundtrack is really awesome. Heavy metal in the movies, super great. So here is a record that I already have as well, but I have a later pressing, and I found two different copies that I picked up because I wasn't sure, and they were really cheap. So it's the awesome Blue Cheer Vincebus Eruptum. This is a record on Philips, and it's known for you know, summertime blues. Really great, you know, psych rock. This is a first pressing on Philips. What can I say? Well, actually, this isn't the first pressing. This is the like a second pressing. This one is the first pressing. It's got a weird textury cover on it, and the logos are, here's a blue one and here's a white one. So one of these is I'm gonna keep in my VCLT package pile. So it's a classic psych record. So Blue Cheer. Excuse me. Here is an out-of-place punk record. This is Bad Brains, The Youth Are Getting Restless, and this came out on Caroline Records in 1980 something, 87 or so. This is actually a live record from the Bad Brains. Features some of their classic songs off their self-titled album, and some off of Rock for Light, and some other stuff on here. This was recorded, this was actually released in 1990, so this was recorded in Amsterdam from 1987, so you know, Bad Brains, Youth Are Getting Restless. Here's a band that I hear a lot about. I don't really know too much about them. It's British. It's Pretty Things. This is Savage Eye. It's on the Swan Song label, and the record cover was designed by Hypnosis, so it's pretty cool. I haven't listened to this yet, so I can't really talk about it, but Pretty Things. It's a classic hard rock metal record. Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, and this is Blackmore's Rainbow Rising, and it features Ronnie James Dio on vocals. Classic songs on here like Starstruck and Stargazer. So this is a original on Oyster Records on Polydor with a gatefold LP, and it's pretty cool. It's another Frank Zappa record I found. It's the Hot Rats, and this is a later reprise, like the tannish labels. So I picked this up because it features Captain Beefheart on here, but there's some cool stuff on here. Hot Rats. There's a band I've shown several times. I'm into krautrock, and this is Amandul 2, and this is Viva la Trance. This is a copy on United Artists. This is an American pressing. Sounds pretty good. There's a little bit of ring wear, but this was one I was missing from my collection. So this is from the 70s. I don't know the exact year, but 1974. Amandul from Germany. Trying to blow through this stuff. Here's a couple records from, this is the Parliament Trombipulation, I think, Trombipulation, or however you say that, sorry. This has something on here. Not sure. I thought there was like one of their hit songs on here, but I haven't listened to this yet. But it was only a few bucks, so I had to pick it up. This is the one I was actually going to talk about. It's George Clinton's Computer Games, and on here is the song Atomic Dog, which Snoop Dogg used for a sample. This came out in 1981 on Purple Capitol. Here is a classic soul record. It's Marvin Gaye's What's Going On Tamla. I see these around a lot. I didn't have it on vinyl. They're always trashed. This record I just kind of gave up and just bought it because it was so cheap, but it's got some major issues. It plays without skipping, but it's a little bit crackly. The jacket's okay, but it's a classic record, so I still will look for a upgrade on this one. So here's some more soul. This is James Brown's Soul on Top. And this was an original on King. It's a stereo copy. Not too much information on this one. This is A Man's World. Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. Are some of the hits off of here. James Brown. Classic. I'm always trying to put these records in here, and it becomes difficult. I picked up a few Otis Redding records. These were a little bit, not super pricey, but about the cost of a brand new record. But these are original yellow label on Volt, so I had to pick them up. This is the great Otis Redding Sings Soul Ballads. And like I said, it's an original on Volt. And one that I got last month also, I think Andrew showed. This is a Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding, and this is also on Volt. This is a really clean copy, which I didn't have. This came out in 1968. I have mostly Otis Redding, some compilations, but and a few other records, but these are some of his classic records. So these two records are some blues records, blues, jazz. Now that I pick up records, Danny over at Not Enough Records talks about, he did a cool video on the Yazoo label, and these are two Yazoo Records comps, not comps, but just reissues of original 78s, I think. This one is called Fun on the Frets, and this is early jazz guitar featuring Carl Kress, Dick McDonough, and Tony Mottola and George Van Epps. So this is just some funky jazz guitar. This is on the colorful Peacock label, and this is an early pressing because of the address, apparently. But these were cheap, so I definitely picked them up just based on the recommendation of Yazoo. The logo is super cool. And here's one I've seen around, but it's been crazy expensive, so this was super cheap. It's Blind Willie Johnson. Praise God, I'm Satisfied. And this is a red label Yazoo record. So I haven't really got to listen to these too much, but hopefully, I'm sure they're great. These are records that I think maybe Danny might have talked about, but Yazoo records. A couple other classic blues records. This is Howling Wolf's Blues Chess Blues Masters Series 2. This is a series, it's a 2 LP set. This is actually a first pressing. I had this record already. It's just got a picture of Howlin' Wolf on it, and but this is actually a first pressing with the drawing, so, and the chess label. So I picked this up, and I'll probably either trade in the other one or pass it along to somebody. It's classic Howlin' Wolf stuff. This record I actually got maybe last week, but we'll just throw it in with January. It's Muddy Waters. It's King Bee. This was actually Muddy Waters' last record that he recorded, I believe, 1981. It was produced by Johnny Winter. I think that's what I read. I could be wrong, but this is got a cool cutout inner sleeve with some photos and whatnot. So this is my jazz haul here. This was a guy that Andrew has talked about before, so I wasn't familiar with. I'm familiar with the Impulse label that this is on, so I picked it up. It's the Golden Flute by Yusef Lateef. He's a flute guy. This is on a Impulse. Has a nice gatefold. The record's pretty clean, like VG Plus. So looking forward to checking out Yusef Lateef. Picked up a few Thelonious Monk records. Monk's Big Band and Quartet in Concert. This was a Columbia Special Collector Series on this weird, strange collector series special products label. There was on Discogs no date listed for these, so it's probably a later reissue. Judging by the design of the jacket, it's still probably 70s or something like that. So Thelonious Monk. Here's a Thelonious Spearmonk Monk's Blues. This is a original pressing. I think it's a Columbia 2i stereo pressing. Haven't listened to this one yet, but Thelonious Monk, so good stuff. got myself some new Coltrane records. This is a double LP on Prestige, but I think this is a repress or like a 2-for-1 this the Fantasy Records reissues. These are Black Pearls. Forget which two originals this is combining, but it's two original records combined in one LP. So John Coltrane, Black Pearls. Here is a very nice original Atlantic copy of My Favorite Things. This is a really great Coltrane record. I've seen this around. Actually didn't notice this, but it's got a little tear here, but in somebody's address. This came from Oklahoma City, so the record is really nice. The front is really nice. A little seam split on the bottom, but for what I paid for it, I'm not going to complain. So those are all my the cheap records. I got all those basically in one day. I had some trade work I did for somebody that I traded records with, so I basically didn't pay anything for them. And then I have these records here that are a little more, they're pricier things that I got on the same day, and I'll show those separately. The first one here is the first Gong record. This is called Magic Brother, Magic Sister. I think it's just called Magic Brother, maybe. This is a reissue from the 70s on Affinity Records, 1977, out of the UK. Gong, famous like space rock psychedelic band. This is a little bit before that run of records. It's pretty good though. I had this one for maybe last. Here's a band I picked up based on the name alone, Fresh Maggots. This is a psych folk band out of the UK. I think they only did one record. They kind of came back into fashion with all the other, like Townes Van Zandt and Nick Drake and that kind of stuff. This was reissued. This was originally released on RCA in 1971. This is a reissue from 2005 on Amber Soundroom out of Germany. So there's some cool like freak out stuff on here. It's mostly like folk and acoustic kind of rock stuff. So Fresh Maggots. Here is an amazing record, one of my favorites in this haul. This is Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band, and this is Bat Chain Puller, Shiny Beast. This record came out in 1978, but I believe it's actually was recorded much earlier, just released later because Frank Zappa wouldn't release their original recordings of this. This has original drawings or paintings from Don Vliet, Captain Beefheart, and so really cool, almost like kind of like Trout Mask type era song. So this is actually a promo copy, a gold stamp on Warner Brothers. It's got silver lined Warner Brothers labels. So here's one of the best hauls I had from January. Best hauls, best picks from January. This is an original copy of the very first Townes Van Zandt record, For the Sake of the Song. This is an original on Poppy Records, and the vinyl is really mint, like VG+. The jacket has seen better days for some reason. This was a promo cutout. There is a seam split on the bottom, and there's a little bit of wear on the top, or the spine is completely split off of here. But so maybe I'll look to upgrade the copy, but the vinyl is super nice. So it's got some of my favorite Townes Van Zandt songs on here. For the sake of the song, Waiting Around to Die is probably my favorite Townes Van Zandt song, which was re-recorded for the self-titled record along with I'll Be There in the Morning, but I think it was retitled I'll Be Here in the Morning. Classic stuff from Townes Van Zandt. Actually, I shouldn't say classic, because I think a lot of people thought this record was overproduced, so that's why he kind of re-recorded like 3 of the songs on here for that self-titled record. So I'm not sure, I'm not in the purist camp, because I wasn't, I haven't been listening to Townes Van Zandt forever, but these are some great songs on here, and I really do like this record, and this is the first time I ever seen an original Townes Van Zandt record in my city. Not to say that they don't come around, but they're probably super pricey, but I was glad to pick this up. Townes Van Zandt. And here's my last record. This is a record that I wanted ever since I saw Vinyl Richie showed it, and he kept making fun of, not making fun of him, but he just said that the record was very wimpy. Based on the cover of it, it should be like a really cool, trippy psych record. This unfortunately does not have a cover, which is one of the cooler parts of this, but the record itself is actually a really great pop record, and I am talking about the Nirvana record, The Story of Simon Simopath, and this was released on Bell Records. So I really like this record. It's very poppy. It is kind of wimpy, so Richie is right, but it's wimpy in a good way. I really wish I had the cover, but I'll look for that someday. I don't know what happened, but this record was just sitting in a bin, and it was cheap, a few dollars, and it looks like it was never played. So I wish maybe the cover would turn up or something someday, and I'll ask around. But I was really happy to pick this up. Nirvana's The Story of Simon Simopath on Bell Records. So I know that was a lot. That was it. I actually have another Creative Records that I kind of picked over. So I'll be starting another haul video for February. I've got some good stuff coming in, and just stuff I need to get through. Lots of jazz records and that kind of stuff. So even though I have lots of records to listen to, I still go out and buy new stuff. So stay tuned next month with another haul video. And thanks for watching. Bye.